more cities really need a bicycle mayor to give an independent voice so that you have that access to communities that you wouldn't normally have.
We might need like 2 or 3 bicycle mayors here. There's a lot of cities within the sphere of Los Angeles City. Welcome to Bike Talk. My name is Don Ward. Today we have Shelley Carr, who is a bicycle mayor of London, Ontario, Canada, not the UK, but still looks like a really cool little city there, surrounded by agriculture, which was the case with the last 2 bicycle mayors we interviewed in Canada.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Tell us about London, Ontario. I'm looking on Google Maps here, and like I said, it's surrounded by farmland, which I love that.
So we have 507,000 people here.
Okay, so that's a decently sized city for Canada, right? Yeah.
We have a major river that runs through, which is the Thames River, otherwise known as the Antler River to our Indigenous community. We used to be quite an industrial city, but we lost a lot of industry because of, the car production is not as prevalent as it used to be in the area. We used to have 3 very large facilities that built either cars or trucks, and they've since closed. So London has now become a university education city. We have 4 universities that are all connected to each other. And then we have a very large college. And then we have 2 state-of-the-art hospitals. So it's very popular with seniors because they have really good medical care. They have all the things that they would have in a larger city without the traffic congestion. And I mean, we only have one highway, and it's a highway that goes from one end of Ontario to the other. So
now I'm looking at, what I like of what I've seen so far with the other 2 cities that, with people that we interviewed from the other 2 cities, is that you guys preserved your farmland that's surrounding the city. Is there a kind of zoning ordinance that prevents expansion?
We actually haven't preserved our farmland. London is sort of one of the cities that are left that has not created what we call a boundary for sprawl. So we have quite a bit of sprawl. Just to bike from one corner of the city to the other is almost 25 kilometers. So
which is what, like 13, 14 miles?
Yeah. It's quite a long, like from corner to corner. Like when we were doing, I'll talk about pedal pull in a bit, but when I was running out and going to see all the people that were counting, I put in a 55 kilometer day, which would be, 40 miles. Yeah. Easy. That would be easy to do. But we're working on that. We're because we're sort of isolated from Toronto. We're like 2 hours away from Toronto and 3 hours from Detroit. The things that are happening there take longer to filter down. So preventing sprawl is just something that started to come out in the community, where people are talking about how we don't want that anymore and how we should preserve agricultural land. But there's just so much agricultural land in every direction that it's never been an issue until now, So we spread out quite a distance for such a small place, for a small city. But what makes us unique is that we've taken a former trolley car a trail that we used to have our own trolleys here, and we've turned it into this very long multi-use pathway called the Thames Valley Parkway. And you can bike literally the entire, almost from corner to corner, using this one multi-use pathway that leads all through the middle of the city along the river. So that's what makes us unique to Waterloo and to Halifax, because we have this huge infrastructure. It's protected. It's extremely popular, and to the point where it's really, there's a lot of conflict now. But that's one thing that makes us a little bit different, is that we saw that need a long time ago and we started to develop it. And now I believe it's over 100 kilometers to ride the entire stretch of the Thames Valley Parkway, which is all protected multi-use pathway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you, let me see, I want to see that on the Google here.
You should be able to see it. If you look along the map, you should be able to see a pathway that runs all the way along the river, and it runs fully out to the east, fully to the north, and fully to the west.
Nice. Okay, yeah, I see it right here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's a Google
Very
cyclist,
popular.
I guess.
We're about to do a count on it. We did a count on Tuesday, according to on Tuesday. We're about to do another count tomorrow, and it will be crazy. We had 200 riders in a 2-hour period on a Tuesday in the middle of the day riding on that pathway. So
Nice.
Tomorrow we have to have multiple people counting in certain sections, because we expect fully 400 to 500 people in the 2-hour time span.
That's incredible. That's great.
But mind you, they're all recreational riders. They're not commuters. They're all recreational riders, because as wonderful as it is, it doesn't really connect people from the places that they live to the places that they need to go, right? Like it doesn't, it sort of fulfills that purpose, but then you have to leave it and go to where you actually need to go. And that's where the problem lies, is that it encourages recreational riding, but it doesn't really encourage commuting riding, because you still have to ride on the road. And it doesn't take you to schools. It doesn't even take you to the hospital. Not that everyone can bike to the hospital, but a lot of people work at the hospital. Like we easily have 20,000 people in this city that work at the 3 hospitals here. We have smaller ones. And if all of them rode to work, they would not need the parking facilities that they do, but there's just no safe connection, right? So it's a blessing, but it's a curse, because our city quite often will apply for cycling infrastructure grant money and get it from the federal government, and then they'll plunk it down on the Thames Valley Parkway and then tell us, oh, there's a speed limit of 20 kilometers an hour, which is like 15 maybe miles. And they'll say, oh yeah, but it's not bike infrastructure now. It's a multi-use pathway. You can't ride on it, or we're not going to plow it for snow because it's a multi-use pathway. We don't have to plow it for snow. So it's like, they play a game, and I always get sort of irked, because I would like to see on street infrastructure, because the Thames Valley Parkway is closed at night. And so the true definition of bike infrastructure is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 4 seasons a year. But we don't have that, right? So it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, I guess on closer inspection here, I'm seeing a lot of single family housing kind of everywhere. So yeah, that's kind of the disease that plagues Los Angeles as well. So do you, as bicycle mayor, are you recognized by city officials? Like, do they give you time? Do you get to talk to them? And do you have
I always spoke to them before, right? I always spoke to the councilors before. I think the bigger problem is that is how we fund our advocacy groups in the city. And it's not just our cycling advocacy groups, it's all of the environmental advocacy groups. The city here tends to hand out funding very readily, but in exchange, there's an expectation that you will go along with the city. And so the people that receive grant funding from the city, they are considered the official spokesperson. But unfortunately, the official spokesperson is bound by an agreement that we'll give you $55,000 and you'll say nice things about us, right? So to some extent, I'm listened to, mostly because I already know all the city councilors and I've already talked to them long before I was a bicycle mayor about what's happening in our city and how we can improve things. I do make jokes with the other mayor, our real mayor in the city, that he'll say to me, "Oh, thank God you're here. The heat's off me. They can come and grump at you instead." And I just laugh. But on the whole, I think that I think the city doesn't really have a chance to change, like a chance not to change. Let me rephrase that, because as we keep talking to other people in the community, they start saying, "Well, hey, she's right," or they're right, because there's all kinds of advocates, right? And we actually want that. We want those things. Why can't we have those things? So then they turn around and they put pressure on them as well, right? So once you get that conversation going, it sort of steamrolls its way through and it starts to push for change. When I first became bicycle mayor, talking about slowing streets, like having 40-kilometer street limits or having speed cameras in our city was something unheard of. We never talked about it. And now we talk about it every single day. So
that's good.
Yeah, it sometimes it's not the way you want it to be, but sometimes it works out in the right way anyway. So
how many city council members do you have over there?
We have 14 city councilors and 1 mayor. 14
city council members.
Yeah, and they're all of these city councilors are part-time, and the mayor is full-time.
Now, are they at large or do they represent districts?
They represent a ward. So I'm in, I think I'm in Ward 11. But there is some chat that someday they will reduce the number of wards to make the councilors full-time, because most of them have to work full-time and be a city councilor. And that's a hard job to do. I mean, I've seen those stacks of reports they have to read. I don't know how they do it.
And are they paid or no?
They are paid. They just got a pay raise. They were making less than minimum wage, which minimum wage here is $14 an hour. They were making less than minimum wage. Now they're making a little bit better than that. But it was pretty sad. It was pretty sad. It's hard to get.
I think it's fantastic to have. I mean, if you're dividing 500,000 by 14, what is that? That's less than 50,000 per council member. Yep. That's amazing. Yep. That's great. Hopefully they don't reduce the council members. They just pay them or something, I guess. Pay them full time.
People are funny like that, eh? Like they don't seem to understand that you're not going to get the cream of the crop unless you pay them.
Right.
It's just strange how people don't see that there's a cause and effect on that, but whatever. I know I've been asked to run for council and I was like, oh no, I hate meetings. So I would start to make funny faces or fall asleep or something. So I'd be a failure at that.
So I'm going to imagine that there's bus transportation as well throughout the city, or? Yeah. Yes.
We just had a big debate here. We were talking about putting an LRT system in, and there was some feeling amongst many of the councillors that it just wasn't worth the money. And so we agreed to put in a BRT system as well. And it looks like we're heading towards electric buses, moving away from diesel to electric. That process is probably going to take 10 years for that to actually be in place. But it is coming. At least we're heading in that way. But it was a big topic during our last election, where a lot of people they just think that buses are ridiculous, or that buses are just for poor people, right? Except for the problem is that if we didn't have a bus system, then the 60,000 students, not including the professors and the staff at the universities, would all be driving their cars in the city, and our streets would be congested like crazy. So I don't think people realize that cause and effect, that all those students on the bus that are riding for free are actually saving them taxpayer dollars, because they're not having to replace roads as often, and they're not sitting there in traffic for hours and hours at a time. Something we do not have here, but we see pictures of Los Angeles, and we do not want that.
Just hold up a picture of Los Angeles at the meetings and be like, no, don't do it.
We have a train go through town, and four people will get stopped, and there's just like all kinds of whining, and it's like, it's a train town. This would not be a town this would not be a city if it wasn't for the trains. And so if 10 people have to stop for the train, then, so be it. But it's a funny thing that the trains, they feel that that's congestion. They feel that stopping for a train is congestion.
I see the train yard here. I guess, so this is the old town that's surrounding the train tracks.
Yes.
In a way, right? Yeah. Yeah, look at that.
So if you just look south of that map, there is a community, I don't know if it's marked on Google Maps, it's called Soho. And it was the very first subdivision of this city. And it was built for the railway workers. And so it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, because it's considered heritage now. But they built all the houses for the workers. You can tell who does what in the railroad by the size of your house.
Wow.
And then the second railroad tracks, which you can probably see off in the distance, there's another subdivision there that was built for exactly the same reason, but less structured. Like Soho is a good example. Like you'll see the big houses on the corners or in the middle of a short block, but the workers' houses are all cottages, and they all sit in the middle, and then the boss sits on the corner, right? So I don't know if that was on purpose. Like maybe the boss was sitting there and could see that Joe Blow didn't go to work that day because he didn't walk past his house. It's possible, right? So
very possible.
Yeah.
Don't put it past him. Huh. Yeah, I'm looking at East London here. And I see the kind of industrial area.
Long before the railroads were here in London. London was actually a refinery town. We shipped crude oil from a place called Oil Springs here, and we refined it, and then we shipped it. Then we sent it up on the railroad tracks, further up to mostly to shipping docks that were in Toronto or Hamilton or wherever. And then there was a very big fire, and it exploded, and they never did it again. So much of the people that live in East London in what we called Old East Village, they also are a part of that same suburb system where they built little teeny brick houses, and then the bosses live on the corner or whatever. So they're very much wanted, and like there are areas of the town that people are moving away from the suburbs and moving into those sections, because they like the lifestyle. They like the fact that there's a sidewalk, and they like that they can walk to the grocery store, and all the things that make a community, which have been designed out of subdivisions without sidewalks and whatever, in stroads, with tons of stroads up by the subdivisions. They have that in these small communities. So everyone's moving downtown or to the outer edges of the city so they can live in a brand new house, but no one wants to live in the middle, right? So that's where the people that are living in those what were traditionally low income areas, are being pushed out to sections of the city. And I'm sure that this happens everywhere. They're being pushed out to the sections of the city where the bus is poor and they can't walk to the grocery store, and they don't have sidewalks, and there's food deserts and stroads. So that is just starting to happen here, where we're building great big condos downtown, and everyone's empty nesters are selling their homes off and moving into a condo, or they're moving into these smaller suburbs, these older suburbs. So and they're the most highly walkable and cyclable areas of the city, right? I'm one of them. I mean, I had a 5-bedroom house in the subdivision, and I had no sidewalks. It was impossible to bike from my subdivision to get anywhere. And I sold my house and moved down right beside the river. And I can bike anywhere I need to go in probably 10 minutes or less.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's the dream, right?
It is a dream. Mind you, I'm living in an apartment with 3 cats, but and 4 bikes.
It looks like parking requirements are a thing in this city. Do you guys have parking requirements?
We do have parking requirements, and we hate them.
Yeah. When you say we, you're talking
most of the people that are starting to read up on these things. We didn't talk about parking requirements 3 years ago either. It's become a really big thing because we have one landlord or owner that buys a property. You'll buy a heritage property, let the building sit for so many years until it rots, and then knocks it, and then applies to put in a temporary parking lot, and then it stays a parking lot forever.
Why would you do that? What is his financial advantage to that? Is he selling parking spaces or something, or what the heck is going on?
He's a speculator. I really honestly think he's a speculator. He's quite often, I don't know if you're looking at the news there's a section of the city that's considered heritage. It's called Bankers Row. And he just recently submitted a proposal to the city staff where he's going to put in a 25-story condo. He's never built anything in the city. I think he just likes to yank people's chains because he's always saying, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to build a technological hub, and then nothing ever happens. The building just sits there. Right? And he probably owns, probably 25% of the buildings in the downtown.
Wow.
He doesn't just focus on London. He also goes to Windsor, which is the twin sister to Detroit. He does the same thing there. So yeah, he gets people's gears going in the city because everything we have people say all the time, oh, I can't go downtown because there's no parking. And there's 13,000 parking spots in the downtown area, just on surface parking alone. But what they really mean is there's no free parking, and they like free parking at malls, right? Even though the malls are suffering because no one likes going to malls anymore. The businesses don't like to be in the mall because then they have to follow the rules of the mall. So everyone's leaving the malls, but they still like their free parking. So yeah,
amazing how that was programmed into our culture and in Canada as well, I guess.
It's what's old is new again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of poking around here on Google and exploring your city. I see there's a lot of grid going on here that smacks of auto development as well, like sort of big grids and big blocks up here in the Carling and North London area.
Department that's firmly stuck in 1967. The head engineer has outright told me right to my face that his job is to get traffic through the city as fast as possible. And we see those numbers reflected in our death rates. We've had, in 10 years, we've had 35 pedestrians/cyclists killed in our city. And the numbers just keep going up. And it's usually seniors that are being killed. We haven't had any children killed yet, but that will be next, right? And they don't seem to see any point in changing things. They just speed it up more. And they just installed cameras at major intersections in the city, not for speed reasons, not as speed cameras, but so that they can, what is the exact word I want to use? because they had a specific word, but it basically, they want to watch the traffic pattern so they can adjust the lights so they can speed up the traffic more with, and also reduce car accidents or
Oh God.
They don't care about pedestrians. They don't ever say the word pedestrian. They don't care about cyclists. As far as they're concerned, the Thames Valley Parkway is where you should be if you want to walk or bike. And it really takes that whole equity component out, because we have a street here called Hamilton Road, and it's had 9 deaths in 10 years because it's basically been turned into a strode. And what's so frightening about that is that the residents of that community, something like 70% of them are over 65, so they can't cross a strode in enough time, right? And they're also house rich but cash poor, so they're very, they're very, very dependent on community services, which are almost non-existent because they can't cross the road. And if you stand on this street and you try to talk, you can't talk. The traffic's so loud.
So it's like kind of a de facto freeway through like a north-south. Is it north-south? I'm looking here.
It connects to something called Highbury Avenue, which is a one-way, like maybe a kilometer highway that leaks to the 401, which is our Ontario-wide freeway. Yeah.
It's kind of incredible how, okay, so for our listeners, a strode, anyone that doesn't know the term strode, it's a street with pedestrian features like housing and shopping and retail and so forth, but they've widened it and made it into basically a freeway without calling it a freeway. They do that here in LA all the time. They'll widen streets, and I mean, I'm looking at this at Hamilton Road, and that is a 6-lane, it looks like.
At some points, yes, it's 6-lane. Yes.
Yeah. And there's houses right there. There's looking at a house.
We're asking people that are over 65 that usually have like some sort of accessibility device of some kind, or just not very fast. They have 35 seconds to cross 6 lanes of traffic. Yep.
And we do that here in LA as well. We'll give. It
seems to be like a North American thing that we don't actually think about the people that are in our communities. And it's so striking as a bicycle mayor, because I speak to European bicycle mayors and they're like, oh my God, they're just horrified.
Right.
And they must look at us like we're like dinosaurs, because they can see that. But what also is very interesting is that we have a very large contingent of Indian bicycle mayors. There's over 55 bicycle mayors in India alone. And where we were in the 80s and the 90s, that's where they are. They're begging for painted bike lane strips. And we're like, rip them out, take the paint away, right? And so it's fascinating to be in the middle between Copenhagen, which is like bikes, people, pedestrians all the time. And then to see India, and they're not even talking about pedestrians. And they get super excited when they can send out a message telling people to wear bike helmets, where we're saying, well, where's a protected bike lane, So it's such an interesting place to be.
Yeah. And it's like Europe, their street grid was put in place centuries ago, basically. And it's like Canada and North America, we had so much land stolen from Native Americans, but there was so much land here that we just, we just happened to plan it around the time that the automobile became.
Well, it's one of the things that's our big problem as advocates, is that people say to me, well, why is it that you have this perception that you should be able to park your car wherever you want? Well, we have so much land, we just can. If you want to build a sprawling ranch house and have on 2 acres of land and have 5 garages, then you can do so, right? And if you have a driveway that can accommodate 8 cars, then you just do so, right? And to couple that with our very cheap gas, like what they pay in Europe for gas is triple what we pay, right? So with cheap gas and all the space and an economy that was really developed and built on car manufacturing. And I say this as someone who worked in car manufacturing industry for 22 years. I am responsible for millions of minivans that can stop on the road today. And our whole economy is built on that. It's really hard to get people's minds off of those three, that being the only option. So it is a struggle, and it's a North American struggle, right? I don't know. I think we're probably affected more by it because we're close to Detroit, right? Which is
right.
Car City, right? So, but the problem is that since I can remember at least 12 automotive facilities, huge plants that hired hundreds, thousands of people, and they're gone just in Canada alone, just in Ontario, right? And there's a very large plant that's near here that's still going. It's in Woodstock, and they were making Equinoxes, Chevy Equinoxes.
Mm-hmm.
They have just announced that they're no longer going to make cars anymore. They're going to make electric vehicles, like electric parcel trucks. So they're at least moving in the right direction, but they still can't wrap their head around the fact that, you know, even electric vehicles aren't going to get us out of the mess that we're in, and that we need to move far faster. So it's a great North American conundrum. Cheap gas, lots of space.
And I don't see how. I mean, even if you put, the crazy part is, like, even if you put bike lanes on every street, it's built for a car scale, and riding a bike, like you said, you could put 40 kilometers.
Well, the equalizer is e-bikes, right?
Right, that's true.
E-bikes are just exploding in the city. We have so many cargo bikes now just due to one bike shop in our city. And it's a great equalizer because now you have e-assist bike, you have up to 75 kilometers. If you don't pedal at all, you can go 75 kilometers with this e-bike, right?
Nice.
So all of a sudden, that issue of moving these big distances is no longer an issue, right?
Right.
And so e-bikes are just exploding in the city. I mean, I think I see a new e-bike every other day, a new kind of e-bike too. And I'm not talking about scooters, I'm talking about e-bikes. So that's the big equalizer, but it doesn't seem that the manufacturers in Canada, at least, have seen the possibility of building e-bikes or building e-cargo bikes like they see electric vehicles. They still only see vehicles. They can't wrap their heads around that. And
right.
The big argument I always hear is, oh, well, it snows there. Well, you know, I bike every day, even in the winter, and there's very few days where that road has snow on it and I have to get off my bike and walk. Very, very, very few times. We don't get very much snow here. We're actually called the banana belt. I think we had 15 days of snow last year. I put studded tires on my bike. I didn't really need them most of this last winter because it's getting warmer and warmer, right? So.
Yeah, that's true too. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a feedback loop. We have to drive more, and then we're making it warmer.
Well, and also I think a lot of people here still don't think that climate change is the thing because we don't have smog days really anymore because they shut down a big coal plant in Sarnia. We don't have the emissions that, say, Los Angeles does. So it's always this perception, oh, well, that's other places, that's not here, you know. But asthma rates continue to go up, and we just figure, well, that's just normal.
It's like we have it's like society has a smoking problem, and it's really hard to kick that habit. and you're sort of in denial about it because each cigarette, you don't really feel it until it's too late, until you're wheezing and diagnosed with cancer.
If you bring up the idea that people don't like, one of the mandates as a bicycle mayor is that we ask that all rides, 50% of rides by 2030 be done by bike instead of by car. And we know that most people just bike up to 7 kilometers, saying they drive in 7-kilometer loop or circle in a day, right? Which is what, 5 miles? Make it stretch. I have to look at a speedometer every time I think of that. So if people are driving such short distances, then most of those trips could be done by bike.
Yeah, totally.
They don't have to be done by car. And I'm not anti-car. I'm anti using a car for something where you could have used a bike. And I rent a car every 2 months. I just go to a local car rental place and I get the kind of car I want and I go where I want to go and then I bring it back. And it's still far cheaper for me to rent a car and to go the kilometers and the places I do than it is for me to actually own one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm still farther ahead every single time.
Do you guys have car to go there? The share car?
We have a community auto, which is a car share, but it's quite limited. I think we have 6 cars in the whole city. And one of the problems with the car share that we have is that they don't have different sized vehicles. So like if I want to go kayaking, which I quite often do, I can go to my enterprise car rental and throw my kayak into a truck, rent a truck and go, right? Where the car share, they only have small vehicles, which is fine if you're just going to the grocery store. But if I was just going to the grocery store, then I just use my bike, right?
Right.
So they still haven't really wrapped their heads around the fact that they need to have different sized vehicles and that they need to set them up so that you can use them longer than a few hours. Because for me, when I rent for 24 hours. I jam all of those car trips into one trip and then I have to do it for 2 months, right? So there's a lot of driving in that 24 hours and I curse that car sitting in the parking lot costing me money
right
for it. But you don't think that way when you're an owner, right? You don't think that way. And,
it's kind of nuts how people, I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's like the city or the state sort of forces you to have to drive a car if you want to get somewhere quick and convenient. And then you're spending thousands of dollars. You know, AAA is always putting out statistics every year about how much it costs. And it's like close to $10,000 a year average. And it's just like the amount of wealth that gets evaporated by the design of our traffic grid is staggering. It's just like, can you imagine buying a bus pass for 10 grand, or
craziness. It's craziness. It's absolute. And that's like, you do not realize how much you worry about your car until you don't have one and you suddenly are renting. And I'm like, I park the car in the parking lot at my apartment building. And I'm like, is the landlord going to tow it because he doesn't recognize the car? I can't park it on the road because I get a ticket, right? And it's, you spend all your time while you're driving that car. Where am I going to park this thing? Where am I going to park this thing? Where I find that as a bike owner, I just don't even worry about it. And it's one of the things that bites bicycle owners when we shop, because we just go to a store and we just find a sign or whatever and we lock up to it, right? And we don't go into the store and say, we drove around for 15 minutes looking for a parking spot and be angry with the store owner, right? But that's what they get all the time from car owners. Bicycle owners like, oh, I need XXX. And then we go at the door. We don't ever tell them that we rode there. We don't ever tell them we had a problem not parking because we're happy, right? But the people that complain to the businesses are the people that have the car, right? So the business owner becomes convinced that the only people that ever come to their store are car drivers. But that's so untrue. But it's so hard to, whenever you talk about bringing in a protected bike lane, they're like, oh my gosh, well, what are all my customers going to do? Well, what about all the customers you don't know that are coming that might come now? Yeah, it's
Right.
we need to start talking about that more. We need to start talking about, yeah, I showed up here and I biked here and I'm happy. You know,
I always try to do that at the grocery store. I ride my bike with a basket, and it's a detachable basket, and
is it a Basel basket?
it's a Rack Time basket. Are you familiar with that company?
Basel basket, which you
Is out.
hook onto the back rack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just pull it off as it likes to handle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got two handles, just like it's the same size as a grocery store basket.
Yep. And you can hook it on the front of your grocery store basket and your cart.
Yeah, I just carry it around, and then when I go through the checkout, I always try to make it a point to say, oh yeah, I'm going to put this on my bicycle. And then they're like, you rode your bicycle here? And I'm like, yeah. I don't know. I just try to be an advocate in tiny ways, I guess.
They're just so funny. They're like, you rode 5 kilometers here with your bike? Yeah, I did. You're going to ride home with this? Yeah.
Unreal. Can you believe it? Well, so, give us an outlook on what you have planned for the next, year or so for actions. And
interestingly, I am almost done being a bicycle mayor. So I only have a 2-year term. I started in 2019. I did need to submit to BYCS my plans for the city, what I hope to accomplish. And for the most part, what I wanted to accomplish has happened. Some more interesting things have happened too, which were bonuses. One of the things that I came into my city as a bicycle mayor to do was to set up a bike registry program, which we didn't have. So generally when a bike was stolen, it would be picked up by the police, go to an auction. The police would never verify their reports to the bikes that were actually found. And then they would sell those bikes that were literally reported in their program. They'd sell bikes that actually were theft bikes. So I came in and I actually went to the police board and asked them to adopt Project 529, which is affiliated with Bike Index. I think that's the program you use in the States. Do you use Project 529 as well?
I'm not sure, actually. I haven't.
American affiliates.
That's a private?
It's a Canadian company, and they go in and they have the police forces sign up. And so everyone's connected, because one of the things that makes bike theft and the black market work so well is that if the city down the road doesn't have a bike registry, then all they need to do is steal the bikes from your city and drive them down the road and sell them to that market. So until everyone has an interconnected bike registry, then you can't really stop black market theft. And before I became the bicycle mayor, I run a Facebook group called London Stolen Bike Report, and people would submit photos of a bike that was stolen, and we try to identify it. The police heard about us. They joined up secretly. Well, I knew who they were, but other people didn't know. And it became more and more obvious that not only were bikes being sold at auction and the police were benefiting from it, and so people hated the police, but also that all of our bikes were getting shipped out of London and going just up the road. So it became more than just us becoming registered. It started putting the push on the other communities to start registering as well, which has started to happen now, where the cities around us are also starting to be affiliated with Project 529. So that was one of the very first things that I did. Another thing that I set out to do is to start bringing the Ontario cycling advocates together, which we're a very large province. It takes 3 days to drive out of Ontario. And so we started with the Winter Bike to Work campaign, which is in the middle of February. It's freezing cold every single year. My God, it was -17 this year.
Oh my God.
People come out and ride their bikes on Winter Ride Your Bike to Work Day. Sometimes we have more, and we challenge other communities to get their bikes registered on. It's actually a global system. It's called Winter Ride Your Bike to Work Day, and they have a board which shows how many people have signed up in every city, and we compete in Ontario against each other. We have some heavy hitters in Ontario, and Ottawa, which is our main. It's like Washington. Don't just ignore Lauren here. She has to be involved in everything. That's Lauren. There's two more coming. Don't worry. Now that they heard your voice. But
my kitty's
Ottawa,
behaving.
which is like Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's much colder there. They have minus 26, and they have like 100 riders come out and ride a Winter Ride to Your Work today.
My God.
So we started that when I first became the bicycle mayor, and we still push for it. I hope the next bicycle mayor continues it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of joking, oh, you're going to let Hamilton beat you, and we sort of badmouth each other, and we see who's got the better numbers and such and so forth. Another thing that I was a part of was the pedal poll, which I've been talking about quite a bit on Twitter. It's a national program that was set up by Velo Canada, which is our national bike advocacy group. They do a lot of lobbying with the federal government to get bike infrastructure and bike infrastructure grant funding for each community. And they decided to conduct a national cordon count, which we call the pedal poll. And so every community in Canada that they had picked out, they picked out 14 communities initially. They have their target cities so they can improve infrastructure. And here in London, we whipped up our advocates so much that we actually forced them to not only allow us to become a part of the count, but apparently something like 90 communities in total participated in a count that was only supposed to be for 14 cities.
Wow.
So, yes. So on Tuesday, we had 50 people out over a 10-hour time period, counting certain sections of the city where we felt that either there was infrastructure, but it needed to be improved, or that there was no infrastructure and we needed to have a benchmark to prove that we needed infrastructure. And the plan is that next year we will again do the same count. And we will see that the work that we've done has improved rideability. The sad thing is that it's really starting to strike people as they count that our streets are really designed just for white men. And we see that in our counts. We see 70-30 count splits, very few ethnic groups, just white people. And we know that our city is very diverse, but those people don't feel safe in the infrastructure that we build. And so we need to work towards getting more equity. So when we do that cordon count, we now have data. So instead of hearing, well, I never see anyone bike down that bike lane, so we shouldn't be spending money on it. Now we can say, well, no, 200 people rode down that bike lane in the middle of the day. And so we know that is true. We have accurate data. So right. That was one of our big things. And tomorrow is our second part of that, where we're doing more accounting again. So I think there's 22 of us tomorrow. So, and it's going to be 35 degrees, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but really hot.
Oh, yeah. 35 degrees Celsius is like 100 degrees or something like that, isn't it? Yeah. Well, congratulations. Are you going to be able to run for a second term at some point?
I cannot.
Not ever.
No, I cannot. I have to start a campaign to get a new bicycle mayor. My last day is September the 1st. Our bicycle mayors go through a pretty extensive screening process. So you have to submit your plans for your city. You have to submit a video of yourself. You have to submit your goals. You go through an interview process. You have to submit community support, at least 5 letters of community support. Then you go through another interview process where you're interviewed by former bicycle mayors. who have retired just like I will be. And then finally you are acclaimed, and you also sign a 2-page waiver saying that you can't benefit financially in any way, shape, or form. And whatever you do, you are basically, you have to find your own funding, or you have to fund it yourself. So
Okay.
I was a student. I funded a lot of my bicycle mayor stuff with student loan. But I can do it low key, so I'm good. But yeah, it was quite a challenge. I mean, I had never done a press release when I first started. I had to do a press release for 12 different media outlets. I had never done a radio interview. I had never done a newspaper article interview. There were so many things that I had never done that I didn't know. I was okay on social media. I have become like a whirlwind. I only wish that I was young enough to be a TikToker and I'd be right in there, but I just can't do it. I'm done. I just can't do it. So, I love TikTok, and I want to find the TikTokers that are like me and just watch them. But yeah, there's so many amazing things that you learn as a bicycle mayor, not just about your own city and who the people are. And I think that it's a real opportunity to get to meet groups of cyclists that you wouldn't normally meet. Like I would have nothing, like I used to road race years ago, but I'm too old and broken for that. But I've got to meet the gravel racers, and I got to meet the velodrome racers, and those people are crazy. Oh my God, no brakes on a side, you're biking sideways. But they're awesome people. You know, they've invited me out to race, and I'm like, I don't think so. I already have enough broken parts. Thank you. But I got to meet all kinds of different riders. I met, the seniors who are all riding e-bikes now because they can't physically do the distance. The distance riders who think nothing of doing 200 in a day and then going home and drinking 2 Guinness. I don't know how they do that either. And then the commuters, who are just riding around, and the parents that are getting their kids to school, and they want to bike, they want their kids to bike to school and they can't. So you just get such an opportunity to meet so many members of your community that you wouldn't ever think that way, because you're not in that stage, right? So it's been an amazing opportunity. Whoever the next person is, I think they might have some work cut out for them, because I'm I get a lot of things done in a short amount of time. I promise you I sleep, but but yeah, they'll do fine. They'll do good.
Yeah, it sounds like they have some big shoes to fill. I mean, they'll be filling some big shoes.
You know what? They could be better than me. I'd be okay. If they could do TikTok, I'd be impressed. Maybe that's a requirement, right?
I wonder if there could be some provision for you to be in the new mayor's cabinet or something like that.
Oh, wouldn't that be awesome? I honestly don't really know if I'll have as much time to do what I did. Like, I mean, I was a student, so being a bicycle mayor gave me a break from being a student. And now I've graduated, so I have to actually find a job. So I may not have as much time. So this is a perfect time to hand this off. Hopefully I can support them as much as they need help when they first start out. But yeah, there's always, you look at people like RC and Jillian, and they were the same, they had never done any of these things. And so they're quite often texting me or emailing me, or we're on Slack. Hey, Shelley, how did you do this? And it's really an amazing environment that everyone's so supportive and helpful. And it's not just the Canadian bicycle mayors, it's also all of the bicycle mayors, like the female bicycle mayors in particular. They're so diverse. Like the ones from South America, man, they do not take any crap from anyone. They're like, that's garbage. They are fierce. I wish I had their fierce.
Love it.
And they're just like, no, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this way. We'll set the building on fire. And I'm like, what? But they're a great group, a great organization. I think that more cities really need a bicycle mayor. if only to give an independent voice so that you have that access to communities that you wouldn't normally have. And the US doesn't have very many bicycle mayors right now. I believe you only have 4. I would love to see far more in the US.
Yeah, we need a bicycle mayor in Los Angeles.
Yes, you do. Yes, you
I guess we don't have one yet.
You do. You have one in New York City. You have one in Atlanta. You have one in Texas. I'm trying to think of what city it is.
It's got to be Austin.
I think it is. And then there's one lady in Connecticut.
Huh.
Yes.
Well, maybe that's our next mission. Get a Los Angeles bicycle mayor. We might need like 2 or 3 bicycle mayors here.
You might, you know.
There's a lot of cities within the sphere of Los Angeles City. So.
And, you know, if you ever want to interview anyone at BYCS, don't be afraid to reach out to them. I mean, they would love to come and talk.
Definitely.
They have a whole group of people there that support all the bicycle mayors and the other programs. We also have a children's bicycle mayor program where there's children that are kid bicycle mayors, and they're fascinating. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. They're a great organization and they're doing some amazing things. They just released a new initiative, a global initiative, and they're trying to get people from all over the world to sign up, all dedicated to making bike infrastructure better. So
awesome.
It's not just your city, it's everyone globally.
It's a lot to take in, but we're gonna continue to have bicycle mayors on the show, and I don't know. I feel like I want to poke around here and see if we can find somebody to do a bicycle mayor.
Have you ever talked to Courtney Brown?
Courtney Brown?
Yes.
I know a Courtney Brown.
Bike girl, and she is a bicycle mayor. She's in New York City, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we actually did have her on the show.
She's amazing. And Patty's quite interesting as well. She started a rolling wave on Twitter, and we had hundreds of people waving, taking videos of them waving while they're riding on their bikes. It was amazing. And also Susan, I think, is done, but there may be a new bicycle mayor in Victoria, BC. So keep an eye on the BYCS page. There's a new bicycle mayor, it seems like every week, and we're over in 100 countries now. So,
amazing.
Yes.
Well, Shelley Carr, thanks for coming on the show and giving us the info on London, Ontario, in Canada.
Well, I'm glad you were so interested in our little itty bitty place.
I love all these little cities. We've been doing interviews actually more in other cities. A lot of times we're LA centric just because we're from here, but it's really fun to go to someone's city with them, virtually on Google and poke around and see what's going on. And the issues are it's funny how the issues are the same.
That's
in a lot of places.
Is to travel to another place and get the local newspaper if they still have it.
I'm way into that. I love that.
And it's the same issues. It's always the same issues.
Yeah.
It's a shock that like you can, and like not last year obviously because no one could travel, but the year before that I traveled quite a bit. I was in Las Vegas just before COVID hit. And I sat down and found a newspaper in Las Vegas. And, Las Vegas, which is a crazy place.
Horrifying place.
You read their newspaper, same problems. Same problems. Yeah. Once you get away from the tourists, same problems. It was just fascinating to learn that the same things that my counselors were talking about, their counselors were talking about. And it's like, can't we somehow find a solution to all this? It's like sitting right in front of you. But yeah, it was fascinating. Actually, Las Vegas was very cool because they had bike lockers and we didn't have bike lockers yet. So I took tons of pictures of bike lockers when I was in Las Vegas, and I didn't a bit.
I used to go to Vegas for Interbike for a number of years, which was a big bike convention at one of their.
Really?
Yeah, it was a huge.
Las Vegas.
What's that?
You can't bike in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas is horrifying. It's horrible. It's sprawly. It's just awful. And I had to go every year, and we would, there's a lot of people riding bikes and we'd bike around, and it's just horrifying. But there's places outside of the city, like old Las Vegas is not terrible, but
that's
the Strip is horrible.
I was in old Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's not so bad. That's nice, a little better.
And they had amazing bike share there when I was there last January, where they had e-bikes you could rent, which I was quite impressed by, because I don't think any of our bike shares here in Canada have e-bikes yet. So,
we have to get an update from somebody in Las Vegas. To get because it's been a number of years since I've been there, but it sounds like things are improving. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, and we'll keep in touch. We want to get people back on the show and get updates. So, we'll see where you're at, and if people want to follow you on social media, give us your social media handles if you want to put those out there. And
well, on Twitter, I am at Bike Mayor, because somehow I managed to get that.
You did.
I don't know how, but I did.
That's a great handle.
I don't know how I got that. I was just like, how Twitter is, you type in what you hope for and then you get some weird number afterwards, but no.
Yeah.
And I'm also on Facebook, just BYCS, London, Ontario Bicycle Mayor. I don't do any other social media, sadly.
No,
try to do
gladly.
Some talks, but it's just videos of me biking around.
I fully support getting the hell off social media. It's so addictive.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? Well, I learned to shut the notifications off on my phone so I can bike in peace now. So it's all good.
Totally. All right, Shelley, thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
That was Bike Talk KPFK live stream with Shelley Carr from London, Ontario. And they have a Thames River in Canada there. So that's pretty cool, I guess. Well, actually, if you really think about it, some colonizers came over and they tried to recreate London and the Thames and all that stuff. So that's more stuff that we have to come to terms with, right? Not to end the show on a downer, but we have to recognize our past and try to make the world a better place moving forward. So we will conclude the show, and take care, everybody.
Transportation shows I care. Every turn of the pedal cleans the air. Green in the green, I'm saving the planet. Just like my friends Dale, Sean, Toby, and Janet. No greenhouse gas, a tiny carbon footprint up your ass. I'm on a motherfucking bike. I'm on a motherfucking bike.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bike Talk. If you want to hear more, go to kpfk.org, navigate to programs, and choose Bike Talk. On the Bike Talk page, click on the archives link to play or download shows posted in the last 4 months. Go to biketalk.com and copy or click on the RSS link to subscribe. Our Twitter handle is BikeTalkPFK. On Facebook, we are Bike Talk. You can become friends and join our group.